Welcome to Module 3. In the last module, we talked about connecting to something greater than what is the norm, connecting to something we call your higher self. And we'll continue to refer to it as your higher self, your better self, your best self. It's got more of a spiritual feel to it. Again, it's got more of a detachment to your ego and things that the ego produces. So let's talk a little bit more about removing some of the things that kind of weigh you down and prevent you from having that connection. And right now, if you take a look at how you equate your self-worth, for example, and some of the answers are defined by things like your stuff, you know, where you live, what kind of home you live in, what kind of car you drive, what kind of watch you wear, what people say about you, your accomplishments, etc. You know, if these are defining you, your accomplishments, you know, the one constant is, we talked about this in Module 1, the one constant is something is missing. And that's a very heavy weight to carry around, because the more you carry it around, the heavier it gets, and the more you seek something more. And it's a vicious circle. So what we want to do is begin to lighten our load. And if we want to lighten our load, we can take a look at something the Buddha said some 2,500 years ago when he talked about impermanence. Impermanence basically is understanding that, you know what, you're going to die, and you're going to die soon. For eons and eons and eons, you weren't here, and pop, now you're here. And then for eons and eons and eons, you're going to be gone. So you're really here for a very, very, very short stay. But as long as we're experiencing the world through our ego, we forget that. And that's the problem. So once we learn, and once we have an appreciation for how precious life is, how short it is as well, we begin to walk with a lighter step. Our load becomes lighter, and our vision becomes clearer. And now, in fact, we can understand what this higher self is all about. Understanding wisdom like this quote here from the book, The Zen of Living and Dying, knowing and remembering that death is certain, near and imminent, can free your mind from neurosis and allow yourself to focus on the beauty of life, things to be grateful for, and the best ways to spend your time being kind. That's the whole essence of what it is to experience the rest of your days from the perspective of your higher self, your best self, your spiritual self. Doesn't mean you give up your personality and your human condition. Obviously, the life mastery process is about embracing both your human condition and your spiritual reality and having the two of them get along. And it's not only liberating, it's just crucial if you want to live your best life, if you want to live your life to the fullest of its potential. Professor Mark Musi said, "We grasp the idea of impermanence conceptually, but impermanence has not yet grasped us in the way that insight makes possible, in the manner that revolutionizes our whole way of life." We get the idea, but we don't really embrace the idea, and that keeps us stuck in our old ways. But it is essential if we want to learn to see through all the things that once upon a time held us back. If we want to break through the old ways and rise above into our higher self, it's really important that we embrace impermanence. When we forget about our imminent death, we become prone to conflict, suffering, and trivial matters. And the ego, of course, will be giving us orders, and we don't want that. But when we embrace impermanence, we suddenly change the way we see the world. All of a sudden, we become grateful for things, even, believe it or not, even things that are an inconvenience. I mean, our old self thought of as an inconvenience. All of a sudden, we realized that when we just missed our flight, you know, our old self would be just screaming and uptight, and you could just feel your blood pressure rise. The new sense of wonder and possibility that Einstein talked about, remember, to stand wrapped in awe, all of a sudden, because you're aware how short life is, all of a sudden you think, without any effort, oh, well, now I have time to read that magazine or read that book or call my wife or meet some new friends at the airport. All of a sudden, things change dramatically and immediately once you're aware that death is right around the corner, relatively speaking, of course. We become more generous with people, but most of all, we become more generous with ourselves, kinder to ourselves. We become patient. We have more compassion with others and especially with ourselves. And I say especially with ourselves because it all begins with ourselves. So you'll notice that the patience, the compassion, the kindness, the gratitude, the generosity will start within. You'll start to recognize these qualities inside your own way of being, inside your own way of thinking. Okay? And all of a sudden now when you find yourself in situations where once upon a time you'd be looking at your watch, you'd be criticizing that person up at the counter, how come they're not faster? You'd be judging them. All of a sudden you realize how toxic that was, how it really held you back, how it seemed like it was really insignificant, but how significant it was in its role of keeping you seeing the world through the lens of the ego. And now you're free. Now you realize, hey, I don't have time to waste on negative thinking, judging people. I want to live, man. I want to live my life to the absolute fullest of my potential. And all of a sudden now we have an awareness. You have an awareness. And we're going to talk more about this in several other modules when we talk about the mind. But now you have this spiritual awareness. You catch yourself when you're not being the way you want to be in the world. You have this sense of adventure about life. And remember Einstein, he had a lot of great quotes. Here's one of my favorites. He said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing. Now you're catching on here, right? A daring adventure if you see the world through the eyes of your higher self, which is liberated from the ego, or nothing if you're still seeing the world through fear, judgment, and anger, which is so common with the ego. And the common mantra of the sense of impermanence, of seeing the world through the eyes of impermanence is, this too shall pass. When celebrating, this too shall pass, because you know this moment is just here and then gone. When suffering, same thing. This too shall pass. These are the mantras of impermanence because they represent your reflection of reality, your awareness of what this moment represents. It's fleeting. That's what it represents. It's fleeting. It's here and gone all too soon, just like your life. So when we see the world through the lens of impermanence, we also begin to see the reality of life, and we see the impermanence of reality in things that seem like they're going to be here forever. All of a sudden we realize it's not so. And again, what this course is about really recognizing these patterns over the past 3,000 years. Epictetus, for example, I love this quote. He said, green grape, ripe cluster, raisin, every step a change, not into what is not, but what is yet to be. And you know what's, I mean, this quote has so much in it. It's not just about transformation. It's not just about impermanence, but it's also about being curious about the unknown. It's about treating the unknown as a gift. It's about treating the unknown, death in this case, as a mystery that is something to look forward to. Just imagine. I mean, it's not that you don't appreciate this moment, but you're no longer afraid of the moment that's coming that you know nothing about, and that is death. Marcus Aurelius put it this way. And again, keep in mind, this quote here is almost 2,000 years old. He said, despise not death, smile, rather, at its coming. It is among the things that nature wills, like youth and age, like growth and maturity. Never, then, will a thinking man view death lightly, impatiently, or scornfully. He will wait for it as but one more of nature's processes. Beautiful. And in the light of impermanence, neurosis gives way to bliss and awe. And we begin to realize that things like disruption, missing your flight, having your meal come late at the restaurant, sickness, uncertainty, death, failure, and all the other setbacks are part of life. And all of a sudden, this sense of appreciation and patience and gratitude and wonder allows you to see the gifts in these quote-unquote setbacks. And we no longer avoid anything like this. We accept it. So how does one develop the ability to see the world through the lens of impermanence? Well, it's not that hard. Walk through, I'm sure you have one of these close by where you live. Cemetery. Walk through a cemetery someday. Read the tombstones. It's quite awesome when you actually do this to just feel the sense of death in there. And it really brings what I'm talking about to reality. You don't have to do that, though. Just take a walk in nature. I mean, that may seem a little bit more pleasant. And everywhere in nature, especially in the fall, you will find evidence of birth and death. In the fall, you'll see a leaf still budding, and beside it, you'll see on the ground a leaf that's decaying, which reminds you that you will go through this process as well. You will find still moments in this day and in the weeks ahead, months ahead, perhaps years ahead, new life, new growth, new opportunities. At the same time, throughout these moments, days, weeks, months, and years, you will find things dying around you in your life as things change. You can read the obituaries. I love reading the obituaries. I love reading about, especially about the life fully lived and celebrated, and to hear hundreds and hundreds of people coming to some place to go celebrate that life. I think that's wonderful. It reminds you, it can remind you that your day's coming too, and one day there's probably going to be an obituary describing your passing, your death. So here's what I'd like you to consider doing. You don't have to do this, but what I'd like you to consider doing right now is, not now, in a couple of minutes, I'd like you to, and you're going to have about 5 minutes to do this, not now, but just in a couple of minutes, imagine you're dead. And I'd like you to imagine, like right now, you just died. Here you are in the middle of this course, boom, you just died. Now, a couple of questions for you. What dreams did you actually realize having lived this long? Maybe you had your own business, maybe you had a beautiful marriage, maybe you had some other things going on. What dreams did you realize? And jot them down. And on the other side of the page, perhaps, what dreams did you not realize? What dreams were left on the counter, on the table, in your mind? And perhaps you can think of the reasons why those dreams weren't realized. Okay? What conflicts were left unresolved that you really wish you could have resolved? Perhaps with a family member, a former coworker, a former neighbor, a former partner, where peace was really desired for many, many years and it just never came. You always had a reason, of course. And think about the conflicts that were resolved. Think about how joyful you are, the fact that you did resolve them. And think about anything else that comes to mind that you're both grateful for and puts a smile on your face, as well as some of the things that you just wish you had the time to fix, to do, to create, to experience, to develop, to build. Okay. Now, obviously, you can pause the program now and continue this exercise, and I would suggest you do that. So I'm just going to assume you're doing that right now. And again, I'm going to welcome you back and assume you just did that exercise. So how'd it go? Did you do it? No? Okay, now you can really pause it for sure and go back and do it and come back when you completed it. Okay. Great, welcome back. Did you do it? Oh, great. Good, good. So you're going to get this, you're going to get your money's worth out of this course. Okay. Even if you got it for free, who knows how you got it? Maybe you're at someone's home who paid for it, and you're enjoying it on their behalf. Doesn't matter. Do the exercise, okay? And now let's assume you did. Let's go on to the next exercise. Now what I'd like you to do is you're going to have 5 minutes again. Don't start yet, though. Now imagine that you lived a full life. A full life. What's the difference? What did you do? What did you create? What did you develop? What conflicts did you resolve? How did you build it? How did you create it? How did you resolve it? And lay out the steps. You know, life isn't difficult. It just comes down to changing your perspective and looking at things a little bit differently. Not rocket science. And you know, you've heard this before about writing your own eulogy. Well, why not write your own eulogy? Write your own eulogy. Maybe you could imagine, you know, maybe you're in your 50s. Well, if I'm almost 50, if I'm going to write my own eulogy, and yes, I have done it, and I probably should update it. I haven't looked at it in a little while. But if I'm in my 50s, I would probably write down, I mean, if I can choose when I'm going to die, probably in my 100 and something year, whatever that is. And I just go to town on creating all the things that I still want to do. And basically, you know, there's a couple of key areas here. There's your personal life, your relationships, your family. What did you do with them? What did you mean to them? What did you create for them, with them, etc.? What about career-wise, professionally, business-wise, spiritually? What kind of outrageous things did you do? What kind of contributions did you make to the people who are important to you? How did you make a difference in the world to certain causes or certain people? What kind of events did you take part in or create? What personality traits did people use to describe you? Kind, loving, generous, thoughtful, patient, etc. What were your key values? And then the final step in this eulogy is give it to someone. Now just imagine you died right now. Who would you like to read that eulogy, assuming you had some kind of service? Hopefully you would. Now think, you probably can come up with a couple of different faces when you think of, well, geez, who would I like to read this? Then what you want to do is you want to make an agreement with them. You want to have a eulogy buddy. Just imagine that. There's a conversation for you. Would you be my eulogy buddy? Obviously, this is someone who you think quite highly of. By the way, I have 3 of them. Yes, I don't call them, I better tell them that they're eulogy buddies. They just know right now that they're going to read my eulogy. And I, in turn, will read theirs. And that's quite an honor. And so that's something you can do. And your eulogy buddies can challenge you. You know, hey, have you done that yet? You said I'm supposed to read this, that you were this, and this, and you did this, and this. Did you do it? Or should I cross that out? And say he wanted to do this, but he never did. And why? What is the reason, by the way, you're not doing this? So your eulogy buddies help you become accountable to the dream that you want to create, to fulfill. Just an idea. Marcus Aurelius said, think of yourself today as a dead man, as one whose life is now finished. And with that in mind, live out what further time you are given in complete harmony with nature. Now, when he spoke of nature in Meditations, he talked about your potential, your higher self, and that's what he means. So think about this quote. Think about your higher self. And what this quote really means is forget about all the things you worry about. Forget about all the things you feared. And that's what holds most people back is, you know, they have this wonderful goal and this list of things, this wish list of all the things they want to create, places they want to go, things they want to experience, personality traits they want to develop within themselves, but they're afraid. And we're going to talk about fear. We're going to talk about the mind and how to release fear from a neuroscience perspective later on in the course. I think you're going to love that part. But that's reality. People have fear. He then said, if you can lose the fear of death and replace it with a fear that you have not yet even begun to live in harmony with nature, again, that's your true self, your higher self, then you can become worthy of the universe that has produced you. And you will cease to be a stranger in your own land, bewildered by daily events as if they were somehow unexpected and dependent on outside things. Okay, we're almost finished Module 3. I'm just curious, and I have some final thoughts. I'm curious about whether you did these exercises or not. I know a lot of people feel uncomfortable writing their own eulogy, let alone calling someone up in the middle of the afternoon and saying, hey, I'd like you to be my eulogy buddy. But it can be done. And it's a step to help you begin to see through the eyes of the higher self, which is a part of you that embraces your impermanence and has a sense of urgency, a healthy sense of urgency, to do what can be done in this moment and all the moments going forward that can help you live your life at a place where you're being your best. You're offering the world your best, you're thinking the best, you're doing the best, and everything you're doing is congruent with what you want to do, which means your life has momentum. You're in the zone. You're living life to the absolute fullest. Please do the exercises. In the next module, we're going to talk about the next step in the life mastery process, which is harnessing a purpose that allows you to develop your higher self. And once your higher self, once your life has a purpose, it has direction, it has courage, and it has a whole bunch of goodies we're going to get into in Module 4. With that said, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in Module 4.